Hey, what's up guys, it's still from Film Concept, and today we are going to create this parallax effect in Adobe Photoshop. So let's go ahead and open up our application. For this tutorial, I'll be using this image I have here. I'll just right click and go to open with Adobe Photoshop. Now the first thing we're going to do is grab our quick selection tool and create a selection around our subject. If you are using the later version of Photoshop, you get the option to select subject. And if you're using the paid version where you have access to generative AI, you can just select subject from here. Now as you can see, it did a pretty good job, but it's not completely good. So I'll go ahead and just do some bit of fine-tuning here. With the quick selection tool, I'll just select more of the space that I want to use. You can see right around the propellers, somewhere around here as well. So I just go through and make sure that this selection is a bit more perfect. Now I keep stressing that the best tool for creating selections is the pen tool, because you get to highlight exactly where you want. As you can see here, I still have some parts to take away. And for this effect to work as well, you should have a blurred enough background so that you can trace out all of your subjects. If the background is busy, it's going to make it a lot difficult. So what I'll do here is, with any of the selection tools selected, I'll right click and go to layer via copy and create a copy of it like so. So with my move tool, you can see I have a copy of that. As you can see, the selection is still not perfect, so I'll go ahead and correct that as well. So again, right click, layer via copy, and as you can see, we have a copy like that. Now what we want to do is get rid of the actual image in the background. So with my image layer active, I'll hold down the control key and I'll click on the thumbnail right here, not the name on the thumbnail. Now that we have our selection, I'll go to select, go to modify, and go to expand. Now I'm going to expand this about 5 or 10 pixels depending on how big your image is. Now I can turn off the eyeball for this one so that we can start working on the background image. Now the idea here is to practically delete our subject in here. So again, if you are using the latest version of Photoshop, which comes with generative AI, you can just crop all of these out and that would be awesome. But if you are not, you can just right click and go to fill and select content aware and just click on OK. All right, so as you can see, we have a pretty good result. So I'll turn back the image we have here, and now we have two separate images. Now on to the video part. Just click on window up here and go to timeline. Now with timeline active, click on create video timeline, and this should show you both of your layers. As you can see, if I zoom out right now, this is one of the layers and this is another layer, but unfortunately it's not showing because it is a locked background. So just go ahead and unlock it and it should appear down here like so. So let me stretch this out just a bit to have more room to work with. So we have our background layer, which is layer 0, and the image itself. Now we are going to animate these two so that the one becomes bigger as the other one becomes a bit smaller. That's how we get the parallax effect. Now with the move tool selected, the move tool which we used for transformation, just click on the layer 1. You know what, you can go ahead and actually name this. So let's call this image, double click on the name to rename, and background. This will make it a lot easier for us. So with the image layer selected, click on the little arrow right next to it pointing to the right, and as you can see, we are left with position, opacity, and style. Unfortunately, we are not working with position, opacity, or style at the moment. We are rather looking for transformation. Now to get the transformation option, it has to be a smart object. I don't know why, but it has to be a smart object. So just right click on the image layer and go to convert to smart object. Now once you do that and you go back to the image layer, you notice now we have the transform option. So what we are going to do is, between the start of the playhead till the end in terms of time, that's why we call it a timeline, we want to animate this. So it's going to be bigger then as it's getting to the end of the clip, it becomes smaller. So the end of the clip is here at 5 seconds. You can go ahead and stretch it out if you want, but I think 5 seconds is just fine for me. Now in animation, most of the time we start from the back, then we move forward. We want to know where it is going to be after everything before we start with the whole animation. Now this makes it a lot more easier as opposed to starting then getting to the middle and notice that you mess up. So I'll start at the end, which is 5 seconds here, and I'll create a keyframe for transform. Then I'll move the playhead to the beginning and change the keyframe. Now over here, I'm actually going to stretch this out by a little bit, right at the top and right at the bottom. So something like this. Now, if you go ahead and play this, you notice that we have two diamond shaped objects here. These are what we call the keyframes. So over here, the size of our image is bigger than what it is here. So if I go ahead and play this, you notice it becomes smaller and smaller. Now you're going to do the exact same thing for the background, but in the reverse order. So for our background, at the start, we want it to be at the normal size. Then at the end, we want it to be bigger, unlike our image, which becomes bigger at the start and smaller at the end. So over here, I'm going to start at the beginning. Again, we only have a position option because it is not a smart object. So for our background, let's make it a smart object as well. Now we can have that transform options. So I'll create a keyframe at the beginning. Then once it gets to the end, I'll make it bigger. So let's go ahead and stretch this out side and side and just click on OK. Now if I go ahead and hide this, this is what we have. So it becomes like this. One is moving towards the other, and we have something cool as this. Now this is looking pretty neat already, but if you want to add in probably a text to make this pop a bit more, you can grab the type tool. Let me change the color to white and just type in something like drone. Select your font size, align it however you want. I'll be using the Montserrat black version, and I'll probably place this at the center, which should be right around the 50% mark here, and also probably make it a lot bigger. So let me place this somewhere around here. If I want, I can even have it in between the text like so. Now you notice the moment I added something to the number of layers I have here, it's also created a timeline for me. Now because my playhead was already at the 5 second mark, it created a timeline from the 5 second mark. Now I don't want that. I want it to also start at the beginning, so I'll bring it back to the beginning. Now we also want to, you know what, let me stretch this out. Let me make it much bigger. All right, so for our text, if you go into the options, we already have the transform options, which is perfect. Now for me, this is how I want the text to be. So that is going to be at the beginning. So the text is going to be exactly like this. Then, sorry, at the end. So at the end, I want it to be exactly like this. So I'll send the playhead to the beginning and make changes to it. So what I'll do is I'll actually have the text smaller, then it becomes bigger at the latter part. So hold down the control key, press T for the transform options, and let's go ahead and reduce this whilst holding down the Alt key. In some cases, you may have to hold down the Shift key as well so that everything is aligned right at the center. So if I go ahead and play this, this is what we have. We have some sort of transition from one to the other. My computer is trying to keep up because the type or the text is quite huge. Now to save this as a video, just go to File, go to Export, and go to Render Video. Now as you can see, the image size is quite huge. So in a situation like this, Photoshop will not be able to render it. So I'll go ahead and change the file size to about 1920 by this 1282 and just tap on Render. And just wait for it to export my video. So at the end of the day, this is what we have. So thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to watch more of our videos, hit the subscribe button, and as always, don't forget to share with your family and friends. This is Theo from Final Concept, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.